A lot of what I try to do in a training is model live for you guys. So if you're ever like, dang, where is that thing that she clicked? Come back to the slideshow. There are tons and tons and tons of screenshots, but I feel like it works better if I show you in real time instead of, oh, you could click on the waffle and then you could click on classroom, or I show you in real life. So the first thing we're gonna do, again, we're gonna go a little fast through this part, is creating a classroom. So you can either go to classroom.google.com, or if you happen to be in a Google like product, you can click on this little waffle and you can click classroom and it'll bring you to the same place in a new tab. So either one is fine. And then once you are here, you're going to click on the plus sign and then you're going to create a class. And I'm just going to call this test class. You'll notice there's an option for section, subject, and room. Section, I learned a little hack. So if you go back to my home screen, you'll notice all of my classes, instead of saying like period 4, they say Gerbata, 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 Gerbata. I found that if you're looking at this kind of sidebar menu over here, I find it easier to see like, oh, those are my classes that I'm teaching. Because like notice there's a period 4 and a period 4. I put my teacher neighbor as a co-teacher and she put me as a co-teacher. And so I would get confused and I would think that was one of my bio classes. I'm like, wait, I don't have a 4th period. So I swapped and did my sections as my last name. So just a little pro tip for you there. And then once you get in, this is what Google makes for you right away. This is your classroom. It's already ready to go. There are a ton of things you can adjust even just here, and I'll kind of walk you guys through some of those as we go. So if you're interested in creating your own header, I do have like a template for you that's already the right size. It's just a blank Google drawing where you could drop in whatever you wanted, kind of customize it, download it, and then upload it here. If you are doing virtual, you can generate a Meet link and then it's always there for your kids. You don't ever have to worry about creating calendar events and kind of uploading new Meet links and things like that. You can post announcements and kids can talk back and forth with you. There's your class code if you ever need to show anyone. Like, oh, here, type this in, this is how you'll join. And then this upcoming part is just kind of a running reminder list for you and your students of like, hey, this is due soon. You should probably work on this. The bulk of customizing your class is going to be in the settings field though. So again, kind of briefly, I'm just going to run you through over here. So if you're interested, after you made your class, you're like, oh, dang, I totally should have done that last name hack like she said. You can always adjust this at any time. It does not have to be like, oh, I didn't do it the first time. I can't ever do it again. So these are always customizable. Same with everything on this page. So invite codes, I love invite codes because you can email or share the link and then all your participants have to do is click and it pops them into the classroom. So that's what we used right here. I just linked to this picture. So if you click, it automatically joins you into our Google Classroom. Class code, and then if you need to see the class code, go for it. You can also turn these off or you can reset them if you're like, dang, I need a new link. This is getting too crazy. So just a heads up. Stream, if you are a teacher, I'm imagining most are teachers. I know there's a few classified in here as well. I typically have only teachers can post because sometimes my students are a little crazy. They like to get wild. So I kind of keep that, like I talk to students in the stream. And then I typically hide all my classwork because I want that to be for announcements, not, hey, Miss G posted blah, blah, blah. And then two, because I don't want my kids to see stuff early. Like you have to go look for what I posted. It's not just going to email you. Well, it's not going to pop up right away in your stream. Showing deleted items, that's up to you. Guardian summaries are pretty cool. I can show you an example a little bit later on if you're interested. But essentially, if a guardian is linked to a student, it will give them reminders of this is coming up or, hey, your kid didn't turn this in. So it kind of keeps the parents in the loop automatically. You don't have to do anything except toggle this on. And then for any meeting needs, you can generate a link and then you can hide it or show it. So if you don't want people to access the Meet link, you can just hide it. And when you're ready, you can turn that back on. Grading, if I'm being totally honest, I don't really grade in Google Classroom. I know about grading in classrooms. If you have any questions when we get to kind of some playtime, please by all means let me know. And I have some slides to kind of run you through the basics, but we use Aries in secondary, so I don't use the grade feature much in classroom. However, you can set up grading periods like trimesters, quarters, semesters, etc. You can add grading scales, like do you want it to be 50% classwork and 50% assessments? And I believe you can also say, I want my A to be 90%, or I want a level 4 to be blah, blah percent. You can kind of set that up here. You can choose to show or hide overall grade. So do you want your kids just to see what they did on individual assignments or kind of overall grade calculation? And then if you wanted to do the categories, you would do that down here. So there's tons of kind of customized features, things you can change and add and show it today, but then take it away tomorrow. So let me just look at my checklist really quick. Create, adjust settings. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about with settings. So this settings wheel right here in the top right corner is the settings for this peach colored test class. If I want to change settings for all of my Google Classroom stuff, I'm going to come over here to the left menu bar and go all the way down to settings. There aren't as many things that you can do just because this is kind of umbrella blanket changes, but you can decide what emails Classroom sends you. You can decide what you see. Do you want to get emails for classes you're teaching, classes you're enrolled in, comments? And then here you can actually turn off individual classes. So if I'm like, I don't want to see anything for my test class, please don't email me anything, I can turn that off and it will shut down every notification from that class. So anything that's archived or you're like, you know what, I'm not really like, I don't use that much, I don't really need it, you can turn off kind of whole class notifications in one go. And then this would apply, like I said, to kind of umbrella blanket settings, not just for that one test class, unless of course you're here. And then this is turning off all notifications. So you will not hear anything. You can still see the class over here in your home section, but you won't get any notifications from that. So Classroom is a little odd in that there's two settings. So there's over here, like for all of Google Classroom. And then if you're in an individual Google Classroom, like my test class, there's the settings specific to the test class. We briefly talked stream, summaries, Meet link. Okay, so I want to show you the template for making your own header and organizing your classwork tab. And this is totally a personal preference thing. Typically, Classroom will do just a running stream. Think like a blog post or Twitter feed. It's just old stuff at the bottom, new stuff at the top, which can get a little scary if you're trying to go through and find something. Personally, what I have found that works well for me is I go by days. So this is the Classroom I use with my third period students. And I do by days because then there's never a question of, well, where are we? Like, go find today. And I actually need to change this because really, rename. This is December 12th to 12/15. We're just getting ready for our final. So when my students come in, they just look for what day we're on, and then there's whatever resources they need. So it's very long and it's very, stream-like, but at least it's easy to tell where we are. Or I can say, oh, go back to October 18th. It's that assignment right there. Or it's that material, or it's that whatever. So that's what works well for me. Some people I know do it by unit. So let me show you some screenshots of another classroom. They did theirs like this. So instead of by day, they said, okay, here's everything you're going to need for the Great Gatsby. There's an assignment, there's resources, here's these due dates. So like notice this was due February 7th, this was due February 21st. Like the students are going to access this Great Gatsby section a lot. And then over here, it kind of shows you all the different ones that she had. So it's not very many topics, but they're a lot larger. So she would put everything in here and then kind of use it for a lot longer, whereas I use mine for usually a day, and then I make a new one for the next day. And if you are interested in making topics, there's two ways to do that, and I'll show you in just a second. If you know ahead of time, I need to make a new topic, you can go create and then topic. And if you're making an assignment and you're like, oh, dang, I really want to put this in a topic I don't have yet, you can make it from an assignment as well. So if I come back over here and I go to my test class, oops, I don't need that. I don't need that right now. So if I come over to classwork, this is where you're going to spend most of your time. So you'll see the create button, and then it gives you a whole bunch of options. Oh, wild. At home, I didn't have a Kami assignment option, so I messed up my screenshot. So you can create a bunch of different things, and we'll talk about these each in detail later. So if I go to make an assignment, and I call this test 1, notice over here, I can decide who this is for. So I can assign to multiple classes at one time. I can set a due date. This is what I wanted to show you. I can set a topic. I can either choose no topic, and it will just go up to the top, and it'll be kind of running stream-like. Or I can click create a topic, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, tester topic. And this is blah, blah, blah instructions. And then notice I can add a whole bunch of things, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit. So I'm going to assign. So this is going to do two things. It's going to make my assignment, but it's also going to make my topic. And then one of the beautiful things, as you create more topics, what you can do is you can actually start rearranging, and you can kind of drag and drop to reorder. So if you need to bring something back up, you can. So for organizing, this is huge. I've seen some teachers, they go and they make a topic that's called archive. And as soon as they're done with whatever it is they're working on, they just move this here and they delete this topic. Oops, except I moved that to the wrong place. Move it to archive, delete this topic. And now all the old stuff just lives in the archive way at the bottom. So it's kind of personal preference. You have a ton of options. And then in terms of still kind of customizing your classroom, when you get to the people section, I personally like planning with my neighbor teachers. And so in here, what I can do, Tori, if you're listening, I'm going to add you. Thank you for being my neighbor. So I'm going to invite her as a co-teacher. When she's invited, she pretty much has like edit ability, just like I do. The only thing I believe she cannot do is delete the classroom, but she can do everything else. She can add topics and kind of mess with things. So just be careful who you're adding as co-teachers. They can do pretty much everything just like you. And then if you had students, and I can show you on mine what it looks like, this is also where you could add guardians. So if I just go over here really quick and I show you my live Google Classroom, notice next to Nadia, it says invite guardians, and next to Alina, it has this email. So if I wanted to invite Nadia's guardians, I could click here and I could enter Nadia's guardians' emails. And notice Alina, it's already entered. It says they've been invited. That means they have not accepted yet, but that email has gone out. So just a heads up, that would be in the people tab as well if you're interested. So I'm going to zoom a little bit to adding students, because I think this is one of the like prime, I don't know, classroom hacks. So if you are trying to add people, it doesn't have to be students necessarily, but you're trying to add people to your classroom, not teachers, but like people to look at your classroom. You have 4 options really. One of them is very old school manual. Type their email addresses in. And you don't technically have to type. There's this little helpful tip over here. If you happen to have like a Google Form digital sign-in kind of thing, you can take all the email addresses from that and you can just copy and paste over here. You can type manually, paste them all at once, but essentially you're inputting email addresses manually. There is another version. So option 2 is still kind of a manual version, but it's more on whoever you're going to invite to your classroom. So you can show this in a classroom. You can announce this over morning announcements. You can make a little poster and say, use this code. And this would be like, well, a little helpful tip over here. This would be like, maybe you are running a club or you're running some, like, hey, I need to be able to get you information for the volunteer thing next month, like join the classroom and I'll push things out that way. So you don't necessarily know ahead of time who's going to be in the class, but you know this is the classroom I want to share this information. So just kind of keep in mind that would be, they go here, they go to classroom, they click plus, they click join, they type that code. So that's how that would work. This option is how I explained to you guys how we did the little picture of the Google Classroom icon. We did the link. So you can copy this link and you can add it to presentations or emails. That way it's just a simple click and it puts you in. But still kind of manual. You have to add yourself to the classroom. And my favorite way, because it's constantly updating, is linking to Aries. So there's quite a few steps to linking to Aries. I will give you kind of the quick rundown. So when I go to Aries and I'm on my homepage, notice mine I'll say visit website. That's because I went in and I added websites. So I'm going to mess with this TA. She won't mind. So I'm going to unlink and I'm going to say okay. Notice right now it says, what? Okay, it says add website. This is normally what it looks like before you've linked to any classes. So I'm going to click add website and I'm going to, instead of creating, because I don't really need to make a new one, I already have one made, I'm going to say link. And then it lets me pull from all the classes I am a teacher on. So this is my neighbor Tori's classroom. I don't really want to link my TAs to that classroom, but because I'm a teacher, it pulls it up as an option. So I'm going to link her to Gerbata TA. And I'm going to say, okay. And that should be as easy, I mean, as hard as it gets. So again, this button right here says add website before you do it. You click link, you find the classroom you want, and then it does all the work for you. The beautiful thing about this is as students are adding to your class, they automatically get added to Classroom. Now, I will say they don't get automatically removed if they drop your class. So I just had a student leave like on Monday, and she's still in my classroom. I have not gone in and manually deleted her. So just a heads up. Oops, that's not what I meant to click. It automatically adds students, but it will not automatically take out students. The next part is where I hope to spend the bulk of our time, and it's looking through the different kinds of posts. What I have heard, like the reason the session exists today, is that a lot of people only use assignments. They don't really know what the other things are for, and they don't really want to try it because, like, what if something bad happens, they do it wrong. So I really want to just kind of focus on the different types of posts that you can make, when you would use them, how do they work, what's the difference, why would you do that instead of this one? And I do apologize. I was going through this morning and updating the slides and the screenshots because I don't use Chrome at home. I thought about this. When I went to create, notice I don't have Kami assignment, but if I go into my test class, and I go to classwork and I hit create, I do see Kami assignment. So my apologies. I will try to update those screenshots and those slides shortly, maybe before the end of next week, just to make sure they're kind of current. So my apologies there. But really, here's the kind of summary version. So assignments are things that you want to attach something to, a document, a video, a link. You want it to have like a specific due date. There's instructions like, kids, you need to do something with this and then turn it back into me. Quizzes, a quiz assignment is essentially that. It's an assignment, but it's a quiz. So there is a way when you're doing a quiz assignment to kind of secure your quiz a little bit for any district issued Chromebook. If your students are bring your own device or they happen to be using a home device, it does not work. But if they're on a district issued Chromebook, you can kind of lock down the quiz. Question is, if you're just looking to kind of poll or get a quick sense of what's going on, like I did a question the other day with the end of the semester coming near, I wanted my students to just play around with shapes of molecules. So I wasn't going to go into a whole, like, this is what it is and this is how they work and these are the rules. I just wanted to see there's different versions. So I made a question and I said, how many different shapes can you make and what are they called? And all I had to do was go in and answer the question in classroom. They were like, oh, you can make 5. There's a pyramid and a this and a that. Super, super quick. There's not really any expectation to grade it. And I'll show you kind of how you can change that. Just really quick and dirty, easy. You don't have to open work in other tabs, and just a quick version. Material is essentially, hey, you might want to look at this. You don't have to do anything with it, but it's just there kind of FYI for your information. Reuse post is a beautiful thing. So the reason Tori and I are teachers on each other's classrooms isn't so that we can steal what the other person is doing. So we'll text them like, hey, I added a thing to classroom. Oh, great, thanks. I'll go steal it and I'll put it in my classroom. There's a few things that don't transfer beautifully. Like if you're an Edpuzzle user, you kind of have to go do a second step, but it makes it very, very, very awesome where you don't have to retype everything, recreate it. You can just kind of steal what they did. Same idea for either for stealing from one of your classes, either currently you forgot to mass assign it to all your classes. You're like, oh, dang, I want to go make the thing again. No, just reuse the post, grab it from first period, put it to second and third period. Or you can go, oh, I remember last year I did this really killer assignment. It's already made. It's ready to go. You don't have to start over. Just reuse post and then it's done. And then topic, again, we've kind of talked about already. That would be more the organization piece. My hope is to kind of go through each of these and then give you guys a chance just to click and play for a few minutes before we kind of talk about grading and then wrap it up a little bit. So when you're going in and you're looking at assignments, these are really, really busy slides, and I will show you a little bit live as well. But what the slides will tell you is kind of when would you use this version and what are benefits of this thing. So for an assignment, this is typically like, I want you to do this and then give it back to me. I'm going to grade it. Typically is how assignments work. Students usually are going to have to edit something or they're going to have to collaborate on something, and you want there to be a really specific deadline. It's not just, oh, when you have a chance, take a look, here's information for you. Benefits, so students can have individual files, or you can have it where they can all access the same file and kind of edit collaboratively. If you attach something in Classroom, typically what it will do is it'll make a separate copy of the document and call it a template. So you have that document kind of forever, even if you borrowed it from a teacher and you reused a post, now you have a copy of that. And then also an assignment automatically gets added to Classroom's gradebook. The last piece that's highlighted is you have originality reports, and I have more slides that are hidden from slideshow mode that go over originality reports if you are interested. If I'm being totally honest and transparent, I don't use originality reports. I don't have my students write enough or to the extent that I've ever wanted to use them. But just so you're aware, as a teacher, you can run an originality report on 5 assignments per class. And then students, I believe they can run 3 reports while they are working, and they can still like go back and edit. And then I want to say when they turn it in, Google runs another originality report. So even if your student never ran one, it'll run one for you. And they're kind of cool the way they work. So some of the hidden slides. So yeah, students can run it before, automatically runs it after. And what it will do is it will go through and it'll flag things like, hey, by the way, this sounds a lot like this link. Or, hey, you should check this out. It has a lot of the same words. And it doesn't really tell you this is copied. It just says, hey, you should look into this. So like if you look at this picture right here. Oops. That's pretty darn near just copied. And I'm not an English teacher. I don't know if that's legit a quote from page 108 and what's going on here, but that just might bring up like, oh dang, maybe I need to look into what's going on, like kind of dig a little further. So Google doesn't necessarily tell you, like, hey, the student is cheating. It just says, you might want to look at this. It sounds a little suspicious. So students can run that for themselves and see, have I got a whole bunch of flags that might be kind of triggering for my teacher to go look into it, or am I doing okay? And then if you wanted to use them, this is how a student would access them. So again, I've not ever done this with my students. Being a science teacher, I typically look for really short bullet points, like just give me the answer. I don't need it to be beautifully written. But if you are interested, there are directions here. And then, oh, I was going to show you in my classroom. So again, I don't use the grade feature in Classroom, but over here on this grade tab, what you'll see is a ton of assignments put in. And some I never put a due date, just my bad, I didn't put one in. The rest of them though, and it's fuzzy because it's still loading. As it loads, it'll kind of clear up a little bit. Some things it will auto grade. So interactivities, that stuff through our science curriculum, Savvis, it'll automatically grade those. I don't really use those grades. I don't grade them. I have the students do something on paper and use them as notes. It'll automatically grade Edpuzzles or import grades from Edpuzzle. And then everything else, it'll either show you missing, turned in, or blank. So because this one has no due date, Google doesn't know that it should mark this as missing for Nadia because I didn't say it's due by this time. But once it's past the due date, it'll mark it as missing. And you'll notice pretty much everything in here is out of 100. Google defaults their grade to 100. I have yet to find how to change that because in my class, I do most classwork as 10 points. Even assessments in my class aren't 100 points usually. So I have to go in and change that every time. And a lot of times I just forget. So I started this year just, it's fine, leave it as 100. And I tell the kids, I don't grade in Classroom. This is where I give you stuff and you turn stuff in, but I'm not going to grade it in Classroom. I'll grade it in Aries. But as you do assignments, it will automatically pop them in here for you. When you're looking at a quiz assignment, so same idea, point value, due date, hey, I need you to go in and take this quiz. It's very much like an action for students. It does give you the option, if you have not already made a quiz, you can make one right here. So when you click on create quiz assignment, it gives you this blank quiz. You can click here and it'll take you out to a form and you can use that as your quiz. So So you don't already have to have it made. Like as for an assignment, you already have to have it made in Drive, and then you can just go attach it. And then specific benefits, you can set it up where Google will kind of monitor what's going on. Let me go back to test. And if I go to classwork, create quiz assignment, see here it says, oh, well, it was very fast. Creating Google Form, and then locked mode in Chromebooks. So here it says, respondents will not be able to open tabs or other applications while taking the quiz. And again, that's only for district issued Chromebooks. But if you wanted, you could turn that on. And then if you click here, it'll take you out to your new quiz, which currently has nothing, but you can make the quiz right from here. So it doesn't have to be a pre-thought out quiz. You can just kind of spur the moment and then make it from here as you go. And then since we're here, this is the same set of things that you can add to a regular assignment. So if you wanted your students to have a periodic table, you could attach from your Drive and you could search for whatever you wanted, and then you could upload it. You could put in a YouTube video. You can create stuff from here if you needed to. Practice sets, I'm not super familiar with, but if you wanted to, you could start practice sets from here as well. And then if you wanted to upload directly from your computer, you could do that here. And then if you wanted to put in a link like, hey, make sure you check out this website, and then add that here. The one thing I did want to talk about, though, is how students would access the work. So let's say I'm going to add these two things to my quiz. Hey, make sure you look at the slideshow and look at this document. It defaults to students can view, meaning students have no edit access. They're not able to change anything. All they can do is look at it. If you want students to edit, this means everyone edits the same document. So I've done this in the past, like an About Me slideshow. And it says on the first slide, here's directions, everyone claim a slide, add your name, blah, 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 blah. So all 36 kids have access to the same slideshow. If you're going to do this, I would highly recommend to just kind of remind them to be good humans, be good digital citizens. By the way, as you're making changes, I can see that in Google Slideshow. It tells me, Jesse deleted this box. You know, just be kind. Don't mess with people, because they have complete edit access over the entire file. They can erase anything, change anything. And then if you choose this last option, it would make a separate copy for every student. So it will actually add their name to the title of the file. So instead of Google Classroom, it would say like Jesse Gerbata, Google Classroom. Same thing. So, and you can change settings. So maybe I just want them to look at the checklist, but have your own copy so you can make your own changes to your slideshow. That's fine. You don't have to have the same setting for everything in an assignment. Topic again, if you wanted to add it to an existing topic, or you can create. So this is whatever topic. And then notice here, I mentioned this earlier, but you do have the option of assigning to multiple classes at a time. And then I'm going to jump ahead just a tiny bit in the slideshow. So let's say, I'll use my TAs just in case. So I'm going to give this quiz assignment to my test class and my TA class. So, okay, it says 2 classes. Now, the all students gets grayed out, because if I'm going to assign to more than one class, it automatically goes to everyone. So if you're trying to use Classroom to differentiate, just a heads up, you cannot assign to more than one class, because then it erases that option. Normally, though, if you wanted to do group work or something, you could make a normal assignment, and then you could click whatever students you wanted it to go to. So I'm going to do test, and I'm going to do Gerbata TA. Next to the assign button is a little drop down, and I can say schedule, save draft, or discard. And there's also assign, but I could have done that on the previous button. So I'm going to do schedule. Notice I can schedule to more than one class at a time. So if I know, okay, I want this to go out December 14th at, I don't know, 5 p.m. It's due tomorrow, and it's going to live in this topic. Okay. I can either copy settings to all, and then it asks me, like, wait, are you sure? Okay. So it's going to go out today at 5. It's due tomorrow. It's in blah, blah, blah topic. There's no grading period. Or I can change this. So I'm like, you know what? That class doesn't start until 7. So I'm going to change this, and I want this to go out at 7 because I don't want my kids to access it early. And then I can just schedule. What that does, notice it puts it here in my stream, but it's in gray. It says it's scheduled for 5 p.m., so I can see it, but students cannot. And students cannot even see this topic right here because as long as there's no material in that topic, students are not able to see it. So because this doesn't technically exist yet for them, they won't see this topic. And then I created this in my test class. I never touched Gerbata TA for this untitled assignment, blah, blah, blah thing. But if I go here and I go to classwork, notice here it is. It's the same topic name. It's the same assignment. This one, however, is scheduled for 7 because that class doesn't start till 7 o'clock. So that's kind of a quick way if you're trying to get something out to all your classes, but you want to stagger it because it's first period, then second period, then third period. You can copy all the settings and then just go in and tweak the time if you would like. You don't have to post or reuse for every single class separately. So I'm going to delete this. Notice I deleted the topic, and because the other thing was scheduled, it kind of went away with it. Normally, if I delete a topic, the material, oh, it went away. I was not expecting it to do that. Sorry. Normally, it just kind of throws everything into the unorganized part. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Google. Oh, dang it, man. No, okay, correction. Notice the Halloween trivia where I deleted the Halloween topic. It doesn't delete the material as well. It just deletes the topic and then it just throws it into the unorganized mess. Whew, good. I thought I was lying to you guys. So if I want to delete both, I'm going to have to delete the assignment or material as well. So my TAs do not need to see that. We'll get rid of it. Okay, good to go. It's 4:30, so I'm going to go back over here. I want us to be doing feedback and time cards, ideally at 4:45. When you're looking at questions, there's 2 kinds you can ask. So you can ask a multiple choice, or you can ask a short answer. So multiple choice would be kind of a quick check-in or a reminder, like, oh, when is our late work deadline? And you can just say it's December 18th, or it's December 18th, or it's December 18th. And kind of they have to pick the right answer sort of thing. Or you can use this as a way, like this teacher, they said, like, for whatever this assignment was, I got it, or I have a question, and then nobody knows they have a question. So they would put a private comment on the assignment, and they would let you know, like, I need help, but without saying I need help. And then you have a few options too. You can make it where students can see a class summary. So they can't really access individually who said what, but they could see, oh my gosh, 75% of the class has a question. Whew, I'm not alone. Okay, good. I'm not the only one. So again, this would be things like quick, you just want a snapshot what's going on. And then if you wanted to grade or not grade, that shows up right here. So you see it says points ungraded. If you want students to just answer a question, no judgment, just I need your opinion, you can set it as ungraded. And then there's really no expectation that it's gonna go in their grade book. Now, granted, they might also see that as I don't have to do it, so just be careful. But what's beautiful about the questions is you don't have to go in and open individual assignments. So I did that in a chemistry class. And you'll notice the icons all look a little bit different. So this little like bookmark looking thing is material. And the question, where are you, question? Right here, question mark in a little like clipboard speech bubble thing. So if I go and I look at responses, it shows me everyone's answer right here. And then I can just go through and I can add their grades on this side. So I don't have to go in and open Jasmine's and Luis's and Nico's and Maddox's. I can see them all right here kind of at the same time. So when I say quick, that's kind of what I'm referring to. You don't have to create a separate document or form. It's just kind of right here. It worked really well. It was super easy for my students to use. And it was really easy on my end as well. For short answer, that's the version that I had put out because I knew they were going to have to write stuff. It wasn't just multiple choice. You can make it where students are able to edit their answers and if they can reply to each other. I was not doing a conversation style. I just wanted to know when you went in and you played with the simulation, how many shapes could you make? So I turned both of those off. I said, you can't edit your answer and you can't reply to other people. So it was very much a students to me kind of conversation. If you wanted them to kind of have a discussion, think like Blackboard discussion board style, you could have it where they can reply to each other. So just a heads up. And it works the same way as the multiple choice style. Like you can grade, you can not grade, you can organize by topic, due date, etc. For material, I use this a lot. I don't grade everything I give my students. A lot of times it's, hey, here's the slides we used in class. Like, I don't want to put that as an assignment because I don't want my kids to think, oh, I have to do something. No, it's just click this link. You just need it for the assignment today. And then another thing which a lot of teachers I know do is they keep kind of a running agenda slide. If you attach it as a material, the students should know. I don't have to do anything. It's just information. And if you edit this same slideshow over and over and over, this updates constantly. So it's kind of like a live agenda. So if any students are absent, they could go in and they could just look at the slides for the week or the month or the unit, and they could see, oh, on Thursday they did blah, blah, blah. And then you don't get as many options here because you're not assigning it. There's no due date. There's no grades. There's nothing like that. But you can pick who gets to see it and where do you want it to live. Reusing post is one of my favorites. So you can choose what class you're going to borrow from. And I'll show you guys that one live because it, I think, makes a little more sense when you see it for real. So I'm going to go back to classwork and I'm going to create reuse post. So this screen is asking me, where do you want to pull the post from? Where's the original post? So let's say I wanted to pull this from my TA class and I wanted to use this in case you were wondering. Here I can create new copies. So if I want everything to be blank, not editing the same template, I can kind of just fresh start here. And then I'm going to click reuse. This will pre-fill a whole bunch of pieces over here. So notice it pre-filled the title, pre-filled the instructions, added a new blank version of the document. I'm going to make a copy for each student, just like I did before. It's going to go in my test class. And then I can add, do I want this to be due on whatever day? Where do I want this to live? All the things like a regular assignment, but it's all of this stuff already pre-filled out, pre-attached, kind of ready to go. Huge, huge time saver. Huge time saver. All right, I'm going to get rid of that. Scheduling posts we already looked at. Grading work, I will not do it justice, but I'll do it quickly, just in case anyone is kind of looking for grading options. So when you're going to grade in Classroom, you can go straight to Classroom and you can go to the assignment and you can click on student work and you can see all the things that your students turned in. You can also, and this is what it would look like. So you would see individual students. You could click here to go to the next student, and then you grade it over here. You can also go, oh, where is it? Straight to Google Drive. So in Google Drive, there is a classroom folder. And in that classroom folder is every classroom you have. Inside that classroom are the templates and all the assignments that you have given out to your students. So my classroom folder is, that's not my drive. My classroom folder is here. I can see all the classes I'm a teacher on. So I'm just going to go, let's go to my TAs. They won't mind. Go about a TA. So I've only done one assignment for them. So if I click on this, in case you were wondering, now I can see all my TAs and their work. So if I click on Sophia, it brings me just Sophia's document. Notice though, this doesn't have the grading piece built in because I'm not looking at this in Classroom. I'm looking at this from Drive. So there are two ways to access your students' work. If you're going to grade it, I would say go through Classroom because it will bring up this grading panel over here on the right. If you just want to see what they worked on, you can go straight to Google Drive and you can find it that way as well. The last piece before we switch over to attendance and time card stuff is if you're going to grade it in Classroom and you want it to automatically talk to Aries, there is a way to do that. When you're in an assignment, what you can do is you can click on the show more and you can tell it to import from Google. So for example, if I look at Devin and I show, oops, I better pull an assignment. If I click show more, there's this import from Google button. I don't have that in Google right now, but if I were to click here, it's going to ask me, where do I want to look? And then it's going to ask me, what assignment do I want it to pull from? Just be careful when you do this because it doesn't really pay attention to like, hey, that's not the right thing. It'll just kind of go crazy. So just be careful when you're going to do this import from Google. Make sure you're clicking on the right assignment, the point values match, kind of everything is set up already the way you want it. But this is where you would do it, import from Google. And then it's going to give you this option. Where do you want to pull it from? What's the assignment called? Are you sure you want to do that? And then it's going to say, okay, here's what I did. I pulled in, this one says 27 scores. Here are some errors. So like if students didn't do it in Classroom or they don't have a score for it, it'll give you an error message. But it works pretty well. Like I said, I just don't really grade in Classroom much this year.